Alright, so now we're going to talk about the Warlock Undead subclass. And this is an interesting subclass because it gives you the opportunity to make a pact with something that's undead. A lich, a Dracolich,
vampire, mummy, a vestige of an undead god or a dead god, something that has died. Or in, another case, it could be just the oldest zombie that's never been killed.
Yeah.
Just could be weak, just happens to have power to give out. It doesn't, but you're making this pact with them, and you're going to gain the abilities of undead creatures as you level up. You're going to become more undead-like.
Yeah, the first thing you get is an expanded spell list. Bane, False Life, Phantom Steed, Speak with Dead, Cloud Kill. Things that are related to necrotic damage and undead.
Avoiding death or avoiding life in some cases. You're on that teeter of life and death kind of thing. And they're all useful spells.
Yes.
So there's nothing really bad about them. I mean, it's good. You get things that really do make sense for the subclass.
Yeah.
And would be useful in most cases.
Alright, so the next thing that this class is going to get is the Form of Dread. And as a bonus action, you transform for 1 minute and you gain this
aspect of your patron, what they are in essence, their death, which is where a lot of the roleplay of this is going to come in is whatever your patron is, because it's going to physically show what you're connected to. You might grow fangs like you're a vampire. You might, part of your skull might become, your skin might glisten and fade away, become transparent because you're connected to a ghost.
Your face might literally turn into a skull if you have a lich patron.
Yeah. Your arms might elongate for whatever reason. They might look a little weird and pasty, but something is going to change on you when you do this.
Yeah, so just describing what your aspect, how you look, what does this form look like is going to be very important.
Desiccate and shrivel up if you have a mummy. There's lots of different ways that this can go. Or sand might whip around you because you're a mummy. Which they say in the book as well.
But the things that you're going to get from this form is you gain 10 temporary hit points plus your warlock level,
which that's good.
And then you're immune to the frightened condition,
which is also can be pretty helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. Nobody likes being frightened.
Yeah, it's very annoying, especially if you're fast. If you run fast, being frightened is terrible.
Yeah. And then the other thing is whenever you hit a creature with an attack roll, you force them to make a wisdom saving throw. If they fail this wisdom saving throw, they are frightened until the end of your next turn. And role-playing that out could be amazing, because what is happening that is frightening this creature? Is your patron a Dracolich? So like when you hit them, like the form of your Dracolich, they see an essence of them like shadow behind you and they're like, oh no.
Yeah. Or is it when you hit them, you pull a little bit at their soul when you hit, and it's being drained into the patron that you have and fueling them. So every time you hit with this form of dread, maybe that's what's frightening them, is they know that their soul is being ripped out of them.
Yeah, or maybe when they're getting hit, you're causing them to actually see like their worst nightmare.
Yeah, their death. Could be, you're showing them what they will be when they die.
Or maybe whatever their worst feeling they've ever had, the death of a loved one, the time that they were scared so much they peed and pooped their pants.
Yeah.
What is causing this person to be frightened? Yeah. Role playing that, I think, is what is going to be one of the best parts of the Form of Dread, and also describing what it looks like.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing that don't ignore it. If you're a player, you're playing this, don't ignore that. And if you're a DM, definitely make sure that they add that in, because it's gonna be fun.
Ask your player, what does your Form of Dread look like? This person's frightened. How are you frightening them? Or talk with the player when someone hits this. Do you want me to describe how they're frightened, or do you want to describe it?
Right. Yeah. Don't ignore that. It's gonna be fun.
It's key to this subclass.
Yes.
All right, so the next ability at 6th level that this class gets is the Graved Touched.
Yeah. And this is where your energy is going to start taking on more of the undead form. Your patron's you're going to become more like your patron in a way.
Yeah, it's really fleshing out that undead aspect.
Or unfleshing in some cases. So you don't have to eat, drink, or breathe anymore.
Yeah.
It's very undead-like. And extremely useful.
Yes, extremely useful. Not to mention, though, how are the other players at the table going to react to that when you guys start going to taverns and stuff, and it's like, hey, you want anything to drink or eat? I don't need it. You only eat or drink because you like the flavor. You don't do it just because you actually have to. And they're like, wait a minute, man. Like, why? Like, why aren't you eating? Why aren't you drinking? Are you even breathing? Like, I don't even see you breathe anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you're outside and, like, everybody's breathing out that cold air, but your character's not breathing any little fog out.
Yeah, and what does that take on your physical body? Does your heart not beat anymore? You know, are you always pale? Is your skin always cold to the touch? I mean, what manifests physically from this? Just because you're closer to what your patron is, because your grave touch, I mean, this should be somehow physically represented. Or do you go to extreme to cover it up now? Like, are you buying makeup to make yourself not look that way? Are you actively forcing yourself to breathe so your party members don't suspect anything? Because we talked about a grave cleric. Grave domain, and the other one might hate what you're becoming.
Also, it could be one of those things where, well, now that your body doesn't need this anymore, maybe when you do it, you need to make a Constitution saving throw because your body will naturally reject it because you're becoming more undead-like. So your body doesn't need it. So every time you eat or something, like, you gotta be like, I gotta roll a con check just to see if you can keep it down.
Could also be like when you eat food, it tastes like ash in your mouth. You know, so you sit at a banquet that somebody's prepared for you, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is the best food ever." You're like, "This is horrible," you know, and you might not even have known that.
Yeah,
you know, and there's lots of ways to play from this. But the other important part is that your form of dread.
Whenever you hit a creature with an attack roll, you can change the damage type to necrotic.
Yeah, so hit them with a longsword, necrotic damage. The other important part is
your Eldritch Blast, now necrotic.
Yeah. The important part is you get to add an extra damage dice to the type you're doing.
If you are using your form of dread.
If you're using form of dread. So all this is while you're in your form of dread.
Well, the attack one, to change it to necrotic, you don't have to be in form of dread. The form of dread just adds an extra damage die.
So it's very, it's damage boosting. So it's helping that form of dread get better and giving you extra little benefits. For that. So
like now if there's something that's resistant to force damage or immune to it, you can be like, I got this, bam, 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 necrotic damage.
Yeah, you know.
And also, how are you describing that? Like, what's happening that's causing your abilities to change to necrotic? Are your Eldritch Blasts like shooting out like dark skulls or, you know, little dragon talons or like vampiric teeth? You know, like when you attack with that longsword, is there like a black flame that's turning it into necrotic damage?
Yeah, or is it all in reverse now? Instead of you shoot an Eldritch Blast, instead of it being force, it's necrotic coming back to you. So now you're actively
stealing the essence.
Yeah, you're a leech doing different things to people instead.
Yeah, that is a nice one.
I mean, not everything has to be coming from them. It could be going to them, not coming from them. So there's lots of ways that this can be played off of. And the next one we can go into is the Necrotic Husk. So this also plays off becoming more undead.
Yeah, because you're getting resistance to necrotic damage. Mm-hmm. And when you use your form of dread, you become immune to necrotic damage.
Yeah, which is very useful. And then the other part about this is very useful is now if you would drop to 0, use a reaction. And then you can pop back up with 1 hit point, doing a radius damage of necrotic out, and hurting the things that just try to hurt you. So it's a great, get out of jail free card, effectively. But 2 major downsides: 1, a level of exhaustion, and 2, you can't use this reaction for another D4 long rest. So it's going to save you, but you're going to pay for that.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like describing how this happens is the magic of what this ability really is. Because what happens when you use this reaction, you know, is something Like, if you have that Dracolich, does your Dracolich show up and breathe necrotic energy on the field on everything within, 30 feet of you? Or if you have
of your choice as well. So you don't have to hurt your friends.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You can only hurt your enemies.
Or does, your vampiric patron, does he show up and start slashing through the crowd and then come by and give you that touch like, I got you, man?
Or a gale force of spirit surrounds you or comes out from you and explodes from you. Or
mummy raps start.
Yeah, or like talked about, you sucking energy. Maybe your patron doesn't want you dead yet, and you're the conduit for them to get energy. They give you power to give them energy, and you suck the life out from the people within 30 feet to bring you back to one.
Yeah, but imagine describing that. A burst of black energy explodes from you and then gets sucked back into you, and that's what picks you back up.
Yeah.
It sucks the energy, and then whoop, and you're, oh, what happened?
Yeah, you might not even know. You might not be the one who triggered it. It could have been your patron that triggered it, and you have no idea what happened. A lot of interesting ways to play that.
Yeah. All right, so the last ability this character is going to get at 14th level is Spirit Projection.
This is a very interesting ability, and it's really strong, which is what you expect for a 14th level ability. It does a couple of things. First, your spirit leaves your body. Your soul leaves your body. It leaves it sitting somewhere subconscious and in a state of suspended animation. Right? That's important to note. Okay, your body's here, your spirit's here. Now you can travel around as your spirit. You gain flying speed equal to your walking speed, and you can hover.
Yeah, and this lasts for 1 hour.
Yeah, 1 hour concentration. So you have to concentrate on it the whole time.
As also if you were concentrating on a spell, so you might want to pick up Warcaster if feats are allowed in your game.
Right, and that's very important, because the next bit you can also do with this is you can cast necromancy and conjuration spells without verbal, material, or somatic components.
Yeah, as long as they don't have a gold cost requirement.
So, as long as you don't try casting these things that need concentration.
Yes,
you can just do these, which means they can't be countered. You just have them ready. Just do whatever you're going to do. Yeah. Nothing's going to stop you.
The only thing you need are the spell slots to actually cast them, or the ability to cast them.
Also, you are resistant to
bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage,
which is pretty good, because it also doesn't specify magical.
Yes.
So even if something has a magical
just
sword,
like a barbarian, you're resistant to it.
Yeah,
as long as it hits you.
So that's really good, because a lot of times,
super good.
A lot of times in other subclasses and other things in books, they say, once you have magical weapons, it slices through you. It's like, no, not this time. I'm a little stronger than that.
Right. While you're using your form of dread, once during each of your turns, you can deal necrotic damage to a creature. You regain hit points equal to half the amount of necrotic damage you dealt. So all the abilities you got beforehand that are helping you do necrotic and extra damage because you're doing necrotic, well, now you're getting half of that back.
Yeah,
every time.
So you can stay in your form longer with all these extra resistances. So you can just go flying around, slashing at people and hurting them. Now, the other interesting part of this is, how do you manifest? Are you ghost-like? Like, is that how you're going to be? Or are you like a vampiric mist if your patron's a vampire?
Yeah,
not a ghost.
How are you describing this? Because that's, this astral projection, what does it look like? That's going to be like one of the key factors in describing this.
Yeah, maybe your spirit projection is not necessarily your spirit leaving your body. Maybe it's also physical. Maybe your head pops off and you're a flaming skull for a while your body sits around because your patron's a lich. And now your head...
Or what if you just look more like your patron? So like if you were a vampire, like when you do this, you're still you, but you have like these dark cloaks on, and suddenly like your projection has fangs and this long slick back hair.
Yeah.
Or if you're the
it literally is your patron.
Yeah, you could.
A fragment of your patron has now popped out of you and is now doing all of these things.
Yeah, which could definitely intensify a lot of what's going to be happening. Frightening people, doing the necrotic damage, and sucking that life back out. I mean, it's
Can you imagine
good play.
Can you imagine you roleplay this through the whole time, all the way up to 14th level, and you've kept a couple of your party members not, they know you're playing this, but their characters don't know. And the first time you spirit projection,
that's when they find out what your patron is.
Your mummy lord pops out of your body, and they're like, okay, hold on. I'm not okay with this. And you're like, well, you're going to have to be, because we got to go beat this Dark Lord here. So, another bit of interesting just flavor and role play.
Yeah, and the last bit of this is that when you're done with your astral projection is or if the concentration breaks, you either go to your body or your body gets magically teleported to where your spirit is.
I mean, so strong. So strong, because if you can become a spirit that can now also, by the way, you float through obstacles just like a ghost would.
Yes.
So you can infiltrate a whole lot of places in 1 hour and then pop yourself in. And then, now you're the man on the inside. Maybe you need to get to that teleportation circle so you can turn it on and make it access for the wizard of the party.
Or maybe everyone's, the party's really getting it and everything's looking down, and when you go down, you go back to your party, or you go back to your body, and you had a person back there that's like, all right, if I come back, I'm going to be unconscious. I'm going to need you to heal me back up, and so we can go get reinforcements or something.
Yeah, because also another important part is that any damage done to your spirit or your physical body at the time is done to both. So you're taking the effects. I mean, it's only happening once. You only have 1 hit points, but also keep in mind, if your body dies while you're not there, you die.
Yeah, but how funny would it be if you had a whole party of undead warlocks? They all astral projected. They all went to fight the big baddie. Big baddie dropped them all. They all went back to their bodies. They had like a little guy with a wand of healing.
A little minion to pop them all back up as he sees that they're dead.
Yeah, or give them some healing potions.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like, nope, like we're
not ready.
We weren't ready. we weren't ready.
We're not ready. We wasted all our time on that. We're not ready. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool ability with a lot of things. And you know what? This class is another one of those that is going to be good to go up in levels in.
Oh, absolutely.
You're getting something significant at every single level that has,
and it all comes back to that form of dread.
Yeah, I mean,
every ability increases it. They give you something that doesn't work with it, but then they give you something that does work with it.
I mean, this is always a plus. This class is a plus sum class, not extra. It's no. This plus this plus this. So this will probably be a pretty fun class to do. And if you're really interested in trying to really role play out a class is built upon self and the connection between something else, I think this patronage here will really allow for that. Because you're physically representing your patron, your abilities represent your patron.
Yeah, because
your actions and stuff represent.
There's really a lot of play on that. Yeah, there's a lot of warlock classes where people just tend to focus on the abilities and not how it interacts with their patrons, or they don't even interact with their patron at all. Whereas this one, I feel like, has a lot of interaction that you could use with the patron.
Yeah, and you could really play that up. And this one also, since it's undead, every player and every person always has this idea of undead and how they, most people don't like undead. I mean, it's going to be a common superstition. Nobody likes undead, so this is another avenue to play. This how are my party members going to like this? And how do you convince them otherwise? Do you start off the campaign with them all hating undead while you're picking this pack, and at the end of this campaign, they all love undead because how awesome you are, and your patron's totally great? You're a Belnorn, Elvish, you picked an Elvish Lich that's a good Lich and helping you the whole time. And now at the end, they're like, oh no, not all undead's bad. And then that really screws them at the end when you fight the Dark Lord that is a powerful undead and says, no, we're all bad.
We're all bad.
It's got a lot of fun, a lot of things you can do with it, and would be useful.
Yeah, I could definitely see myself playing with this subclass and kind of playing it like the Death Note characters, where like my patron's a Shinigami. And like that, like that's how I'm going to be describing all my stuff. And the necrotic energy, I'm like writing people's names in books and shooting stuff at them.
Yeah, I mean, I particularly really like the idea of that my patron wants to be reborn, or for it to exist, it grants us this pact for you to give them power. So
maybe you're there to go find them, to release them from their bondage, whatever's holding them.
And I feel like that would be a really fun way to play this. Is you're more of a conduit for them versus just a shared ally, or like in some packs, or just somebody who's stealing the power from it. It's like no, this is the reverse. You made a pact because you needed to live and you needed to survive, and this undead gave you that ability, and now you're paying for it. Which is great for Ravenloft and Domains of Dread, because that's what this whole thing is about. Is the domains are trying to make you suffer. So why not have a subclass that's suffering the whole time too?
What if you pick this undead patron because this undead patron in the past killed your ancestors? Well, now you make a bond with them. And it's you tricking them into thinking that you're going to help them and free them, when really you're just borrowing this power to go kill them. And when you kill them, you lose all your power, but that's the end for your character. You got what you wanted. You killed the guy that killed your ancestors.
Could also be that guy is the Dark Lord. You made the pact with the Dark Lord. You could have made a pact with Strahd. Maybe Strahd somehow wants to give power out, or one of the other liches, like somehow you've piqued his interest or their interest in some way, and you made a pact with the Dark Lord of this domain. I mean, that's unto itself a whole avenue for a DM to delve into.
Oh yes,
because now you can make the Dark Lord a extreme point in this campaign, not just a hey, he's here, or the actions or whatever, and he might show up every now and then. It's like no, the Dark Lord from level 1 knows of your existence and knows your party's existence because you told him.
Yeah. So that would definitely be very interesting, and like, how are you going to role play that up?
Yeah.
Like, how's the party going to feel? And it's like, hey, the guy we're hunting, you have a pact with him?
Yeah.
No, hold on now. We definitely need to talk about this.
Yeah. I mean, interesting bits. So that's the Warlock, the Undead. Like I said, it's pretty cool. It's very interesting.
Yep. If you guys like what we're doing, or want to hear more subclasses, just like, comment, subscribe, and
hit that bell notification.
Yep. And tell us if there's a subclass we haven't covered that you'd like us to cover.
Or, put in some other interesting ideas about what these subclasses can add and what they can do. Maybe you might come up with something else that would be fun to play as these. So let us know.
Yep. Until then, take care, guys. Keep having fun.
All right. Yeah. Keep rolling those nat 13s.
I love 13.
It's an unlucky number.
No, it's not.
Triskaidekaphobia. Be afraid.
You're a decaphobia.
No.